Stories from the Storm is a project of the Houston Flood Museum in partnership with Houston Public Media and is supported by Houston Endowment. Visit houstonfloodmuseum.org.
Our lifelong dream home that we had sacrificed a lot for, we just lost it in a heartbeat.
All the mementos that I value so much, it took us by surprise, and we just wanted to just kind of disappear from the situation.
And it shakes you to your core, and it brings about the reality of humanity.
And it was just amazing to me how many people they didn't even think about their own safety in a lot of cases. They were like, no, we're just going to go and help.
Since the American West was not settled by men and women who had taken a course on how to be a pioneer, we just went out there and did it. Well, Saturday morning, the streets were flooded, and we closed the store. I remember that vividly, because a day without cash flow to me is like a day without oxygen.
That's right.
Then Saturday night, I went home to my house over there by the Galleria store, and you and Jeremy stayed here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the worst was over. Then I woke up Sunday morning, and I couldn't get out of the driveway into the street because the water was 3 feet deep. I finally got on the 610 to drive out here, and I went over the first overpass, and the cars are coming the other way on the freeway. That's when I knew the shit had hit the fan. So I got here about noon, and the phones were ringing off the wall. Emails were exploded, text messages everywhere saying, you got to come rescue us, we're going to drown.
So you asked us, what can we do to help? And we said, we have these 24-footers, and they're tall, they're 4 to 5 feet off the ground, and, we can help them pick people up.
Yeah, so then I called James. He's stuck in Dallas with his wife and kids, and I say, how do we tell these people that we're going to be a shelter here at the North Freeway and at Richmond, and how do we get drivers to come out here and drive these trucks around and pick up all these people that are flooded? And James said, do a Facebook Live. Within a couple hours, that Facebook Live had 4.5 million views.
Yes. The overwhelm of volunteers and help, and we knew this town at that point was committed to help.
Yeah, and the volunteers came in. They showed us their commercial driver's license, and we picked 2 of them and put them in the truck, and off they went.
So that's the point where all these trucks started going out, and we started bringing them in, and it was exciting to help these guys.
Yeah, they brought them in, and they were covered with dirty water and sludge, and shell-shocked, traumatized, had their life belonging in a black plastic trash bag. Remember that? Then about 8 o'clock, I sent these brothers out to get another load of people that were flooded over at I-10 in Wallaceville. Remember that? They go over to get these people, then it got really dark. It's still very hot and humid, raining cats and dogs. And about 10 o'clock at night, I get a call from this lady. She says, I was talking to my husband. He's in the back of one of your trucks over at I-10 in Wallaceville. There was a lot of people in the back of the truck with him because we had to load them up in the back of the truck like cattle. There was no place else to put them. So we had 8 or 10 people in the back of that truck. She said, and all of a sudden, everybody started screaming because water's coming in the back of the truck. She said, and I'm afraid my husband and all those people have drowned, and the cell phone cut off and she couldn't talk to him anymore. So I said, Anthony, you're 6 foot 8 inches tall. You got to go out with Junior here, and Junior's 5'2". So we dispatched the odd couple to go rescue them.
Yes, and we knew that it's going to be a bad area. Once we drove by the exit at Wallaceville, you couldn't even see the stop sign. The stop sign was underneath the water.
So all this time you're thinking you got to get out there and rescue these people before they drown, right?
That was the only thing we could think of, is how much time we got because the water wasn't letting down. It almost felt like you could still feel the water rising. And I'm starting to walk, and I'm trying to skate left and right, find the curves, find the trees, find the poles, find anything that I can, and then find the highest ground. And I found this great route. I was like, okay, we can make this route, get to our truck, get back off the route, and get these people to safety. I was trying to beeline it straight for the truck. And then that's when I'm walking, and into a manhole I go.
So you followed a manhole.
And when I pushed on that cement, you can just feel the cement just tear the skin off. But that wasn't the thought at the time.
Skin didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
Life mattered.
And the only reaction I had was my hands went out, and my hands are sitting flat on the cement.
So you're totally submerged.
It's totally submerged. I caught myself and literally tried to push up enough to grab a breath of air, and then I went back under. And
so it pulled you back again.
Pulls you back in. And you're reaching around, there's no ladder there. I pulled myself back up and literally just ripped the skin off, but I pulled myself back out. So we get over to where our truck's supposed to be, and the truck's empty. And we had wondered what had happened. 610 you know, it's bare at that time. And we look across the way and we see this truck sitting there, and it has a trailer on it, but with no boat. And we walk over there, and there's a lady sitting in the truck, and we ask her, we go, do you happen to know if there was anybody in that truck that was over there? And she goes, absolutely. And, you know, our spirits got more up. She goes, my husband just launched his boat right off the feeder of Wallaceville, and he went over there and he picked him up and he went into that neighborhood. He'll be back in a minute. Just hang tight.
And all about this time, it's about 2 o'clock in the morning here. It's still raining cats and dogs out here, very hot and humid outside. And we got 250 people asleep in here, and all this tension is just unbearable for all of us, and worrying about you and Junior and those 8 people in that truck. What time did y'all get back here?
It was about 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we all got back here. Everybody was safe.
It was the worst of times, but also the best of times.
Yeah.
And it couldn't happen without you.
And you, for sure. You started this rally and you ended this rally. It's just an everlasting memory. You're there to help make it better.
You can overcome. That's the story of Houston, the story of Texas, the story of Hurricane Harvey.
The morning that the water first came in, all of our phones went off, remember, for a tornado? And so we went outside and the water was almost to the front door. Do you remember?
We turned on the TV.
Okay.
Dad made coffee. I don't know why he made coffee in this time of emergency. And then you came inside and you were like, start putting things up that you want to keep. It was a neutral kind of feeling. Like when you've gone past panic and you've gone into the neutral state where you're like, okay, this is happening.
Right. I remember that. And I remember you were texting and you said, Jet says her dad has a truck and he can come get us. And I said no, because by then the water was already like thigh deep in the street. And then you went away, and then you came back like 5 minutes later and were like, Jet says her dad has a truck and a kayak.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, come. But you left first.
Yes,
with the dog
and the dog food, and blowing up the air mattress and trying to keep our dog on the air mattress because she kept on jumping out into the water. She saw her toys like go drifting by, and she kept trying to go after them, and I was like, no, you have to stay on here.
But that was in the house. Like that was the air mattress that we didn't go out on the street with the air mattress. That was floating in the house, remember?
Yeah.
Trying to keep her dry because she's so little. And Mr. Newcomb like towed you out.
Yeah, we were going down the street and I kind of took it lightheartedly, and I was waving at people who were out on their like doorsteps, and I was like, hi,
freaking out.
And they were like, what is she doing?
I don't remember getting really scared until the next morning. So we all evacuated, and then the rain stopped, remember? And your dad and I, we got Mr. Newcomb to take us back to the house, and the water was gone, and we swept and cleaned, and then the water started coming back that night. And so the next morning we had to get to you, and now everything had broken its banks. So we had to figure out how to wade through what looked like maybe neck deep water to get to you, because we live north of the bayou and they live south of the bayou. But I remember getting texts from you going, are you there? Are you okay? Were you getting scared?
Yeah, I was. And Jet was like, put down your phone. I was like, no, I'm not putting down my phone.
Yeah, that was a scary time. And right before we started to cross, this guy said, do you need to cross? And we said, yes. And he said, well, there are 3 guys with a bass boat that are shuttling people. They just came out. They didn't even think about their own safety in a lot of cases. They were like, no, we're just going to go and help. You've never seen the house.
I never saw the inside. I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, you never went back, did you? For the first couple of days, I didn't want you to go back. I knew it would upset you.
Yeah.
So what was it like going back to school that first time? Like, was that weird, that first day of school?
You could tell the people who had flooded.
Really? How?
Yeah, because everyone was a little bit traumatized, but the people who got their houses flooded looked more traumatized.
Is that right?
Others. Yeah, but we didn't talk about it.
Nobody asked questions or?
No, because, everybody in my class is really nice, and we're all like, we're not going to push each other. So we didn't talk about it because school was like a nice way to,
Yeah, I was really relieved for you and your dad when you both went back to school and work. Like, that felt like a bit of normalcy.
Yeah.
So we lost pretty much everything. Like, we don't have the stuff that we had before. Like, do you feel a sense of loss of the stuff we had, or you feel pretty comfortable?
I did at first, but now I'm more like, it's okay. It's gone. It's gone. It's in the past. So now I'm starting from scratch.
Like, you've had such a different childhood than I've had, right? Like from everything.
I don't think this experience has been horrible. I think it'll actually be pretty cool. It'll be like, oh, I went through that. That's intense, but that's cool.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you don't think of this as a blight on your childhood.
No. Yeah, when I'm old and I got grandchildren, gather around, children. I got a story to tell.
And also, people were so nice to us, right? Like one guy showed up. He had driven in from New Orleans and asked if he could help us clear out our house. And I was like, sure. And he said, you Houstonians were so great to us during Hurricane Katrina. The least I could do is get in my car and drive up to help you guys. And then he had nowhere to stay because everybody was in hotels. He just drove all the way back that night. Like that was 10 hours of driving, and like within 24 hours. It's just crazy. And 14 of those hours he was helping us. Do you think you learned anything from it?
I should take people's help instead of like saying, oh, I can do this on my own. I've got it. I don't need your help. I can do it. And the world isn't a bad place. You just gotta go through some traumatic stuff before you see the good.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. But it's there. The good's there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware how Pastor's Army got started or not. We were doing the food distribution and just going out in the community, and all of the product that we gave away, the food, the water, the clothes, it just voluntarily donated to us. We're the largest nonprofit faith-based distribution center in the Houston area. Eventually, we began to set up a network of people going out, and that's where you got involved.
I was reaching out for some help. Obviously, our home was lost over Harvey. The only thing that we were able to save was just the studs and basically the concrete slab and the outside walls. So I was grateful when y'all came over and helped me demo with the demolition and the cleaning and picking up the debris. So happy that we were able to meet you guys. Unfortunately, under this circumstance, but
Yeah, right. Right.
Here.
Well, out of adversity comes opportunity.
It seems like we're not going away anywhere soon. So
So unfortunately, this is a catastrophe that's going to last for a lot of years.
A lifetime.
For a lot of years, and the impact it has made upon your family has been long range.
Yes.
And it's going to change your life forever. And so you and your family, with your daughter Mia and her physical condition, what's she diagnosed with?
She has a childhood cancer. It's leukemia, a type of leukemia. It's called acute lymphoblast leukemia, and high risk. So she was diagnosed back in 2016. The year of 2017 was pretty impactful for our family.
How many other children do you have?
It's a total of 6.
6.
Our lifelong dream home.
Yes.
That we had sacrificed a lot for. We just lost it in a heartbeat.
But in the long run, if we can come alongside of each other as we're doing now, we're developing friendships, we're developing camaraderie that's just unreal,
It's unreal. Yes, sir.
We wouldn't have met probably in any other way, there's no way our paths would probably have crossed, So
yes, sir.
I often say out of adversity comes opportunities,
yes, sir.
And so, of course, I've met Mia and been around Mia. She's such an optimistic little girl.
She is.
And she... you go to encourage her.
She ends
before
up
you leave,
encouraging us.
She's really encouraging you,
Yes.
And you
Yes.
say, wow. What is the little motto she uses?
She has a faith over fear.
And she came up with that on her own, right?
On her own.
Faith over fear.
Or faith over fear.
You've been displaced now for how long?
Since Harvey. So it's what?
10 months now.
Yeah, almost 10 months.
And,
close to a year.
You can't ever go back. Nothing's ever the same when you go back. We want to just be sure that we can continue to contribute as long as we have facilities and abilities. It's just been amazing to watch that happen.
For some reason, I think this is just the beginning for Pastor's Army.
I'm not interested in being an icon in the community. I want to be a presence that makes people know that we're here for a reason. When people have a mind and a will to do things, we find a way to do it.
Yes, sir.
And everybody doing a little here and a little there, it's amazing what gets accomplished.
It's been a blessing, Pastor. It's been a blessing to be involved with you guys and the help that we received firsthand. Like I said, not just on our recovery efforts, but also spiritually. And I want to thank you.
I don't know if it's something that happens to you whenever you go through like a tragic event, but every time I would like wear my clothes or have it in my backpack. I just smelled water. So whenever I went to school and having that piece of like a memento, like a horrific thing, because it's like something that you don't want to like remember.
So we got back to school and I was walking through the hallways that day during lunch and I was like asking how everybody was doing. And then you started telling me your story. Do you remember like what you told me that day?
So when we came back to school, my mom was just like, okay, we'll try to get things back to normal. And we just wanted to get back to our lives. So we didn't really want to have anyone start asking us so many questions. And so whenever like you came, I was just like, should I answer like honestly, or should I just leave it with like, yeah, I'm okay. And I was like, okay, well, I guess our house got flooded. Things don't look the same way anymore. There's mold in the walls. There's things that are kind of smelly. And she was just like, oh, you have to get out of there. When I went back home, my mom was just asking me questions like, oh, so what's going on? Like, what happened? And I just told her that my teacher was telling me that this was like not the right like place to be at the moment, and she just started to freak out because she knew that my brother Josue is like, he gets sick easily, so she was really concerned about him.
Yeah, honestly, when I had offered my home to you guys, I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to hear from you. Like, I remember it's like, you know, here's my phone number, go home, like talk to your parents, and, you know, let me know what you want to do. So I was really glad. That next day, it was a Saturday, I remember you calling me and you're like, Miss Kong, is the offer still available to come stay at your house?
So in the beginning, we honestly were like, we don't really need any help. Like, we have the house, things are okay. But then as we started uncovering more things, like not only was there mold, but the floor was warped. So my parents were concerned about like my brother's health issues, and then if something happened and we accidentally opened something can get out. Like, there were snakes that were kind of just in some of the areas. And my mom was hesitant on calling because she was just like, no, like, I want to stay here. Like, she's a housewife. Like, I feel like her job is one of the hardest jobs you can ever have. And so for her, it was really difficult to just leave everything and get out of the house. But she realized, like, in the end, in that like span of a day, that it was just the best option just to call and find another place to be.
So when did y'all leave the house? Was it in the middle of the night, or like was it the next day?
It was like 2 days later, towards like maybe midnight to like 4. We were like, no, we have to go. Like, this isn't, we have to just try to find a way to get out of here. I guess the moment that I just started getting really just so overwhelmed and just tired, whenever my dad was putting like the blankets from our childhood. So he started stuffing it against like all the crevices of the house. And then he started bringing in like the boxes of like pictures just to figure out a way to make the blankets to not start like floating with the water. So it was a moment where like taking everything and throwing it away was just us taking some part of us and just throwing it out. So it was hard for them to take everything and look at it and then discard it, like, because it wasn't gonna help anyone. It was already covered in a lot of the mold. Yeah. So it wasn't gonna help us. But it was really sad to see all that go away. Yeah.
You guys came maybe about a week after, like, you had called me. And then that following weekend, like, we all went over and, like, demoed your house, and we, like, completely had to gut your house.
Did you, like, whenever we came, like, did you expect, like, a big family, or was it just like, oh, you were just expecting me? Like, what was, like, your mentality?
No, I knew that it was going to be you and your 2 brothers and your parents. So I went out and, like, just made sure, like, we had enough stuff for y'all, and I went and, like, made those copies of the key to give to you guys so that y'all could just, like, come in and out as you needed to.
So we've always been taught that whenever we're like in a house that is in our house, we're supposed to be respectful. Like, even if they do give you the liberty of like cooking in the kitchen or like doing things in the rooms and stuff, we just wanted to make sure that because of us, your lives didn't turn into something else. Like, instead of it being like a 2, it was gonna become like a 7. And so that's more or less what they were considering whenever we moved in and did things in there.
I'm glad like we were able to give y'all this space, like just having that space, right? That safe space. You have a bed that hasn't previously, been underwater, and like you just had that space to kind of be kids.
How does it feel now without it? Does the house feel a little bit bigger?
It was really weird, like having the house to myself, and then like that Monday morning, like going and getting in the car by myself without you and Miguel. It was like, it felt weird.
Yeah. I was telling my mom yesterday, and she started laughing. I was like, it's nice to smell the air of like refineries and like the Pasadena. Like, you just know it's Pasadena when you start smelling refinery. And so she started laughing, but there's some truth into it. Like, even though it was different, it was just nice to be in my house again. Like, just knowing that it was like If you wanted to yell, you could just start yelling. Like if you wanted to just start running around, it was just cool. It was just like looking at the stuff. He's like, this is my room.
And your dad's already planning to turn into an office when you leave for college, isn't he?
He was thinking really about ready. Ways to coordinate.
He's like really ready.
Oh my gosh,
Dad.
to
go.
So we were at our apartment, which was at the corner of Park Row and Barker Cypress in Katy. And I had been tracking the storm through radar on my phone and through the news, and I just had a gut feeling that we needed to move early. We had Brianna with us, and she's quadriplegic, so if something did happen, if there was a flood, getting her out of the apartment was going to be next to impossible. Not to mention the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment that she has.
Yeah, and so the news reports were saying it's not going to be that bad. So when we went to the hotel, I thought we're on higher ground. We'll be safer here. We packed up her wheelchair, most of her basic medical supplies, her formula, her medications, and that was all we could fit. And I thought we would be okay. And then all the alarms kept going off.
It was nerve-wracking. It was really nerve-wracking.
It was terrifying.
And I get a call from my best friend, Joseph. He tells me that he's left Dallas and he's on his way to us. He has a big old jacked up truck and his boat, and he's on his way to us, and he said, we're getting you out of here.
And we're lucky we had Joey.
When Joey and I originally got to the apartment, it was before they released the reservoirs. It was probably about 5 p.m. in the afternoon, the day of landfall. We tried to get her power chair out, and there was no way. It was just too much. We tried everything we could to lift it. It was raining, so taking it out and trying to ramp it up to the bed of his truck, it was getting soaked. Probably 6 inches of water sitting in the parking lot. And then we find out her sister gets a hold of her and told her, they said they're going to release the reservoirs. We were literally right in the path of both Addicts and Barker Reservoir.
We were in the worst place possible.
It was knowing that we were going to take a huge hit.
I mean, it took us years to, after begging and working and trying to get that wheelchair approved. And I mean, that thing is, I don't know, it's like, what, $70,000?
I think it was 75, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's material stuff. We're safe, and that's the most important thing. Absolutely. But, it's a blow. And we're still, all this time later, fighting to get it repaired, fighting to get it replaced, so that she can have the things she needs to communicate with caregivers, to be able to move on her own in her power chair, to be more independent. It's very hard. She wants to be part of the conversation. She wants to communicate with people, and that device gave her the freedom.
They told us as well that they were, within minutes, going to be releasing the reservoirs. And we were still at the first hotel that we originally evacuated to. We couldn't risk losing power. She's dependent on power for her equipment. They were going to do it at 10. They ended up moving it back to, I believe it was midnight. We took that as our opportunity to try and leave. We were going to try and get to Joey's house. We couldn't get past that point and the highway where that water was rushing at 1 a.m.
We had to find a safer route.
So we took the kids and got Jen and the kids another hotel. And Joey and I went out to the trucks, and we tried to get some sleep, but it didn't really happen. And he said, let's go check out this road over here. It's supposed to be clear. I don't remember the cross street, but it was at Cookendale Road, and there was a gas station that we got to, and there was water across the road. And I look in the rearview mirror, and there's police coming up behind us, and they pull up, and they're saying we have an entire neighborhood back here that is underwater, and the water's broken the banks. We were just trying to get out. We were just trying to get to Dallas, and the sheriffs, they looked at us and they said, we don't have boats. Everybody's out.
You can't say no.
We're dropping the boat in the water at a gas station. They started pulling people out, boat by boat by boat, and I was helping them get out. The water that I was standing in was up to my knees, and it was trying desperately to rip my feet out from under me. It was rushing water.
We were all on high alert 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And while you and Joey were out on the boat actually pulling people out of the water, you know, I was taking care of the kids by myself. So neither one of us got any rest.
When we made it and we were driving out, we were heading to Dallas. We got past Conroe, which was scary as well because it was already underwater. And as we're driving, we see Harvey's cloud, and we're driving out of it, and you literally see where the sun is breaking. You see the line on the horizon. I think that was the moment that I really knew that we were safe, when I saw that sunset. Jen was exhausted, and Brianna was, she had been sitting up in the truck for so long, and Nate was exhausted from all the stress of this entire thing. And I watched them all sleeping on their air mattresses. And I walked around this empty house with just them and air mattresses. And it was the most humbling feeling, because these people are my family. And I knew that we were safe, and I just cried. Because
You're in crisis mode the entire time.
Yeah, and I wasn't crying because, we lost everything.
It was a release of everything that you'd been through, because you can't react in the moment. And you find yourself crying, not just from the relief that you're safe, but the generosity from other people that didn't have to do anything. And then the guilt, because we made it, we're safe. And we're still watching and listening to everybody else. And looking back with how high the water rose. I mean, the cars, houses that were underwater. And I mean, I don't know where we would have been safe with her. Yes, it was terrifying, and it was super sad. A lot of people lost a lot more than we lost. We were the lucky ones.